It's a brand new year here on the Small Holding, and we need to get these greenhouses ready for the new growing season. And today I'm going to show you what we do to get them cleared out and cleaned down. Welcome to English Country Life. My name's Fiona, and together with my lovely husband Hugh, we run a small holding homestead here in Lincolnshire in the UK. Now, we endeavour to grow as much of our own food as possible, but that means we need a long growing season, and here in the UK we can have frosts as late as May, so young seedlings need some protection, and these greenhouses are absolutely crucial to that process. And then when we get into summer, we want to use them for tender plants that we want to grow. So we need to get them prepared, because I think you can see there's opaque glass on this one behind me and certainly on the other one. And that's not anything we've painted on the inside. This is actually mould, which isn't going to benefit the new seedlings that we want to put in here at all. They're not going to do very well if there's mould, fungus, all sorts in there. So we need to get them cleaned down, but we've also got to clear them out. Because I have to be honest, at the end of September, when the last of the plants stopped growing in these greenhouses, we just abandoned them because we had other priorities. And the reality is, if we'd cleared them out in September, we would actually have to go through the process again now. Because since September, we've had a lot of weeds take within the greenhouses. Now, one of the weeds I'm actually really pleased about, and that's nettles. And why am I happy about nettles? Why, it signifies really fertile soil. So every single year we have one greenhouse where in summer we've got tomatoes, the other greenhouse we've got tender plants like chilies and ginger in pots, and then we swap them over year on year. And the greenhouse that I'm going to show you that I'm clearing out is the tomato greenhouse. So let's get started. So this is the really embarrassing bit for us to show you the inside of this greenhouse, because as I've mentioned, we abandoned it since September. Now, what we normally have are tomato plants planted directly into the ground around the walls of the greenhouse with one small cucumber plant. Now, I say one small cucumber plant, but essentially it grew like a triffid. We've also got a line of tomato plants in pots down the centre of the greenhouse, but as you can see, all of those plants have died back and they're very brown. Unfortunately, at the end of the season, we did have some tomato blight in here, and those are horrible spores which we need to make sure are killed off during our cleaning process. So we've got mould and we've got fungus to tackle in here, but the very first job is to get everything cleared out. Unfortunately, we can't make use of anything that comes out of this greenhouse. Normally, we'd be able to use the nettles to make tomato food for next year by basically making almost like a nettle tea and steeping the nettles in water. But because we had tomato blight in this greenhouse, we can't take the chance of those spores living. So everything we're removing is going down to our bonfire site at the bottom of our field. There's a whole lot of digging involved now, and although the tomato plants aren't very deeply rooted and are quite easy to get out, the nettles are a whole other ball game. They're rooted very, very solidly, so there's a lot of pulling the top growth off and then digging over and digging over and digging over, which I won't bore you with because it took a very long time to get the greenhouse cleared, but it's going to be worth it in the end. And I am still happy there's nettles in here because it does show that there is fertile soil. Once the ground has been completely dug over and it's clear of all roots and weeds, what I need to do now is tackle the walls, because as you can see, there is a really deep film of green mould on this glass at the moment. So let's have a look at the tools I'm going to use. This is probably the simplest kit you'll ever see. It's just a bucket, which I'm going to fill with warm water, and a solution of Jay's fluid, which I'm going to add. Jay's is fantastic. It'll kill all the mould spores and the fungal spores that I can get to on the glass. Unfortunately, Jay's fluid smells an awful lot, so I'm using some really robust, long, black rubber gloves to make sure that my hands don't smell at the end of the process. I'm also going to be using a sponge to apply it to the glass and a very soft brush to actually brush and scrub as much of the really stubborn stains that I possibly can off the glass. Now for the fun bit. I'm going to use a pressure washer to take all the mould and the J's fluid off the glass. Now it has to be said that we've got toughened safety glass in our greenhouse. If you've got polycarbonate or you've got normal glass, it may not be safe to use a pressure washer, but a normal hose pipe will do the same job. It'll probably just take a little bit longer, but I have fun with the pressure washer. Now you might have noticed that I've now got a really old hat on and an old sweatshirt top on, and that's because I'm gonna get absolutely soaked. And anyway, I'm going to be smelling of J's fluid from the previous part of the exercise. So all of this is going to have to go in the washing machine at the end of the day anyway. Once the inside of the greenhouse is complete, I need to repeat the entire exercise on the outside of the greenhouse. So wash it down and then pressure wash the whole thing off. At this stage I'm really pleased because the greenhouse does look incredibly clean, but there's still one problem I need to solve. It's possible that I've not managed to get all the mould spores or fungal spores where 2 panes of glass actually meet, so I've got one more stage to go through. We're going to light a sulphur candle which produces an incredibly toxic smoke, so I'm lighting it and standing a long way back. I'm going to shut the greenhouse doors and let it work its magic. That smoke is going to work its way between the panes of glass, and it's going to solve all the problems of any mould or fungal spores that are left inside the greenhouse. Now you can buy these at any garden centre, but actually the components are incredibly cheap to buy. So that's what we do. We actually make our own. We've got an old tin here, so it's fireproof. We've sat it on a brick, so it's less of a problem. We've put a paraffin soaked old piece of towel inside, which we've left a little bit protruding from the top, so we can use that as a wick. All we've done then is shaken sulphur powder around the wick, lit it, stood back, and voila, I'm going to have a completely mould and fungal free greenhouse. Because the smoke is so toxic from the sulphur candles, I'm leaving it a full 24 hours before going anywhere near the greenhouse. It's not only toxic to the mould and the fungal spores, it's toxic to me too, so I'm just being very careful. That's the entire process, and I hope you can see this greenhouse is beautifully clean now. The difference it's made is phenomenal, and the sulphur candle for us is an absolutely crucial stage because, as we said earlier, we did have a little bit of tomato blight in there and it was a problem. There's going to be no mould spores, no fungal spores in there anymore, so our young plants are going to have the best possible start before we can get them out into the vegetable garden. If you have liked this content, do take a moment and give us a thumbs up down below. If you're not already a subscriber to the channel, come and join us. Hit subscribe and that bell icon, a completely free service, and you'll get to know every time a brand new video is launched. If you've got a question for us, pop it in the comments section and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And don't forget, we've now opened a UK online poultry keeping store, so you can have a look at our different products at englishcountrylife.com. But for now, thanks for watching, and we do look forward to seeing you next time.